Hi, Susan Bratton here, your trusted hot sex advisor to millions with my friend Nicole Harlow of Girl Meets Body. And hello, Nicole!
Hi, Susan. So excited to be here chatting with you today.
Me too, because I was watching some of your YouTube videos at Girl Meets Body, and you talked about Fertility Awareness Method, which I'm very interested in with regard to contraception. And one of the things that you said was, hey, it's a computer-based model that statistically projects your fertility, but you know better when you're fertile. And you were talking about put your finger up inside your vagina. Look at what the consistency of your vaginal secretions are, because that's how you'll know when you're fertile. And I was like, oh, I like this. This is the finger fertility test. So I was wondering if you could just briefly talk about the fertility awareness method, what it is, how it works for contraception. But then I also would really like you to spend more time talking about what a woman's cycle is like and how that impacts her vaginal secretions and what she's looking for to know when she's fertile and when she's safe.
Great. I love this question. It's something that I love talking about. So really, I think what for me is important to share, especially like kind of putting brackets at the end of it, because obviously we could talk about this forever, but kind of wrapping it up into like a little small egg. What's important to me, so a pattern that I'm really seeing out there is there's a proliferation of period apps that are based on the fertility awareness method. So I don't think that fertility apps in themselves are a bad thing, but what I'm noticing is it's taking this opportunity to connect deeply with your body and actually know what the rhythms are of your body. And it's taking that away from women and putting it into the hands of an algorithm, basically. An algorithm that says it's learning every time you have a period, but I know I use an app is consistently wrong every single cycle. Keeps getting my cycle
Yeah.
wrong. Keeps telling me that I'm ovulating when I'm not. Right now, it's not affecting my life so much because I'm not trying to have a baby. I'm in a monogamous relationship with a partner. I'm using protection. So it's not affecting me. But if I was trying to get pregnant or if I was trying to not get pregnant and I was using these apps, for example, I could have had some big mistakes at this point, just following when it says that I'm ovulating or not. So I think that using fertility awareness method, which is really a symptothermal effect. So you're looking at the symptoms of your body, you're testing the temperature. One of the core principles of fertility awareness method is taking your temperature every morning. So you use a basal body thermometer. The reason why you can't use just like a thermometer that you would use to like say, do you have a fever, is because it needs to be very precise. And what happens is if you look at the fluctuation, so you have the first part of your cycle, there's hardly any progesterone. And then after you ovulate, there's a spike in progesterone. And with the spike in progesterone comes a spike in your body temperature. So after you ovulate, if you're recording every day, seeing what your temperature is, you'll visually see this spike go up. And that's to show you that you've ovulated. But the problem there, if you haven't already seen it, is it predicts post-ovulation. So you don't know, it won't predict that ovulation is coming. It will predict after ovulation's already happened. And the same thing is happening with these period apps too. So if you're inputting the temperature every day, you're seeing that ovulation's already happened, but it's not predicting that it's going to happen, which is actually what the information that you need to know. If you're trying to not get pregnant or if you're trying to get pregnant, it's important to know that you've got the run up to ovulation. So what do? This is where your brilliant naming of the finger test came in. And I love it because that's exactly what it is the finger test. So I'm going to walk you through what you do for the finger test. And I think it's good for women because one, it forces you to get up in there in your body. And I think that you
Yeah.
would agree with me that that's so important to just have that day-to-day communication with your body, not even in a sexual way, just in a checking in. This is my cervix, this is my vagina, this is my cervical fluid, and starting to know, because there are a lot of ways, this fertility awareness is just one, but there are a lot of ways that our body tells us in a pattern what is actually going on. We spend a lot of time saying, I don't know what's happening in my body. I don't know what's going on here, when actually your body is telling you loud and clear what's happening. So I want to walk you through the steps of how you do the finger test. It's really easy. All you need to know are just the way, all you need to know is what you're looking for, basically, throughout the month. So when you sit down in the toilet in the morning, it doesn't have to be the morning, but I like to do the morning because overnight I've had just a bunch of the fertile fluid or not fertile fluid kind of like pool. So I feel like you can see it better on the toilet paper. You can actually see it better on your finger. So you're going to sit down, you're going to spread your legs, you're going to take your finger, could be this one, could be the middle finger, depends on the positioning in your cervix. Sometimes my cervix is so high I have to use my middle finger. Sometimes I can get it with the pointer. You put one finger up inside. The first thing that you're going to do is swipe around, bring your finger out, and look to see what you have on your finger. That's going to be marker number one. And we want to really get into this. Like, treat yourself like a scientist. Look at it. Feel it with both fingers. What's the texture? What's the viscosity? And the last thing you're going to do here with your fingers is start to spread it apart. If it starts to stretch, you've got fertile mucus. That's the thing we're looking out for. The stretchier that it is, the better quality the fertile mucus is, and the more likely that you are just about to ovulate.
Does that mucus get stretchy like that because it's going to trap the sperm and hold it in there so that you can get pregnant? Is that why it's mucusy?
It's going to be like the vehicle that helps the sperm travel through. So the sperm can swim easily through that.
Yeah, it's motility.
Yeah, motility. So it's like a very nice swimming pool for the sperm to go through. They really like that, you know, and they also like the pH of it. So the pH changes throughout the month as well. So when you're around ovulation, it's the best pH for the sperm. So step number one is doing the swipe finger test. Step number two is checking the position of your cervix. So if people don't know, your cervix feels like the tip of your nose. It's a little protrusion that's kind of up in your vaginal canal. So you should feel this little thing kind of sticking out. And what we're going to do is we're going to feel around it. We'll see the positioning of it. And I just think this is so cool. So I want to walk you through what actually happens throughout the month so you can know what to look out for.
Great.
So in terms of positioning, what we're really looking for is when you're around ovulation, you want to remember the acronym SHOW. That's soft, high, open, and wet. So we're looking for all four of those characteristics. We want it to be high. Sometimes it's so high that you can hardly even get to it, especially if you have a long vaginal canal like I do. Even though I have long fingers, sometimes I can hardly get to it.
Same for me.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of sucks up into your body. So we're looking for high. We're looking for cervix that feels soft, that feels open. Now, you're not going to know what this feels like in reference to the rest of the month until you start getting into the rhythm of it, right? So the first month you might try and be like, well, I can't tell when it's soft. I can't tell when it's open. But trust me that the more that you do this process, you'll get to that month where you're like, it's soft, it's open, I can feel it. And then we're looking for wet. That's the last part of show, is looking for wet. So when you're ovulating, you're going to feel a lot more wetness in the vaginal canal. You'll probably wipe yourself and you'll find some wetness. It kind of looks like the fluid that comes out after you come. The difference between them is that after you come, that kind of vaginal secretion, it dries very quickly on your finger. But if you have the fertile is a little bit more viscous, it's a little bit thicker, and it stays around on your finger for a little bit longer. So if you kind of dry it in the air, you'll look at your finger and it will still be there. So that's kind of like what we're looking for around ovulation.
I also would like you to address the mucosal plug and when the mucosal plug pops out and how you can often find that in your underwear or find that on your finger.
I'm not sure that I know about that.
Oh, okay. So when you ovulate, there's actually a little plug of that sticky mucus in your cervix, in the entrance to your cervix. And when you ovulate, the plug pops out. So a lot of times if you've seen what looks like a booger in your underwear, a really sticky thing, Or sometimes it looks like, the I think it's called the albumin in an egg. When you look at an egg and there's that white stringy thing, that is what comes out of the cervix. When you ovulate, it pops out, and then the sperm can get up there. Otherwise, there's a mucosal plug that stays in there during the rest of the month. So you're not getting pregnant, you're not getting things up there. It really keeps your cervix clean.
So cool. So guys,
Yeah.
I'm learning things here as well. So
There's so much to know. That's why we women band together.
exactly.
Because we're sharing information and learning from each other. So that's another thing too, is as you're watching us discuss this, I want you to talk to your girlfriends about these things too, because we women need to have an open conversation and support each other in growing our knowledge base. So, and also I do want to say too, that if there's anything that you could add to the discussion, or any questions you have in this discussion that Nicole or I didn't answer that are burning questions for you, post them in the comments below, because we will, as Nicole says, get on down in there and answer them. Now keep going. So you were talking about a show and ovulation. We're talking about the fertility finger test. So when you know you're fertile is when there's like mucus, snotty stuff
Yes,
on
exactly.
your finger.
And you'll probably see it on either in your panties.
Yes.
And because it has a high water count, what you're kind of looking for is you may see like a nickel or a dime sized circle in your underpants. Other times of the month, you might see something that's a little bit more like a smear.
Yes.
But when you're ovulating, because of the water content, you'll see it forms more of a circle. So you can look for that as well. So
That's interesting. Okay.
checking in the panties, see what's going on in there, checking after you wipe yourself, because in the morning you'll see a little bit of pee, but you may also see some blobby, kind of snotty mucus that's clear. But there's other things that you can see throughout the month in terms of looking at doing the finger test and looking at the fluid. So if it's not ovulatory fluid, like we just talked about, what else will you see throughout the month? What you're going to see is you'll have your period, and once your period stops, you'll have a period of dryness. And usually around that time, you'll put your finger up, you'll feel the sensation of dryness inside of the vagina. You may even feel some kind of stickiness. I almost think about it like Elmer's glue that we used to have when we were like younger, like paste. If you roll your fingers together and the cervical fluid starts to make little balls on your finger, like you have paste on your finger, you're not in a fertile point. You're either in the follicular phase, which is right after you bleed, or you're in the luteal phase, which we all know is kind of the PMS phase, right before you're about to bleed. So you can think of these as the bookmarks. It's like bleeding on either side and then dryness as we come into the middle. Now there's a phase that's right after the dryness, but before we get to that fertile fluid, and it's the same on the other side, and that's a creamy. So during this phase, it's going to be a whiter, maybe even a yellow. If you see a yellow during this time, you may think you have an infection, but as long as there's not a smell to it or an itch, you're probably fine. As long as you know that you're in this window, kind of probably about, I want to say days 10 to about 14, you may find this creaminess, but it could very well have like a yellow or an opaque kind of cast to it. But it shouldn't have a smell. With the finger test, if you roll it around, you'll find that it's creamy like lotion. It feels like the kind of lotion that you could put on your body. So that usually means that ovulation is either just starting or it's about to end. But what I find with most women is they have a longer period of creamy before ovulation starts. And then after ovulation ends, they may have creamy, but it's just like it almost drops off pretty abruptly. So you may find like a day or two of creamy and then you go to dry. And the reason why this is important, besides just knowing about your fertility, because some women might be listening and saying, I'm past, I'm not having any more kids, or I've got, whatever, a non-hormonal IUD. I don't really have to worry about this. I think it's important, one, to know where you are, and two, well, really just to connect with your body, but also with sex, it's important to know, for me at least, there are different times of the month where I may need some extra lubrication. And it's not a problem with me, and it's not a problem with my partner, but I'm in a dry part of the phase. Now, that could start if I'm revving up and I'm taking a lot of time, but it's more important if, say, I'm having like a quickie and I don't have time to like get a nice like vulva massage or have lots of foreplay, where I start producing a lot of more of my own vaginal lubrication. So I know intuitively now, okay, luteal phase, I'm a little bit drier. grab the lube because I'm going to have a quickie and I'm probably going to need it.
I have to say, I never have quickies because I'm one of those women who's very, very delicate. My vagina is very delicate. I take a long time to warm up and get engorged and get all the blood into my clitoral area, into my vulva. And what I found over the years is that every time I had a quickie where I rushed intercourse, no matter how much lube I used, I was always a little pissed off at the end. Like I might have even had an orgasm, but I felt like I pushed myself too hard. And I began over the years to really honor that and to say, I'm not going to do, I mean, sure, if you're with somebody brand new and you're totally turned on by them and you're just like dripping wet with new relationship energy and you've got all these hormones coursing through your body that are like, I want to have sex, I want to, of course you can get away with it. But especially in long-term monogamous relationships or even serial monogamous relationships or even open relationships you've been in for a while, a lot of that stuff goes missing. And I just really, like we're suggesting that you honor your body and its hormonal phases. A part of that is also honoring the fact that you need time to warm up, and I want you to take that time. I want you to own that that's what you need. I want you to train your partners that you need that when you need it. And you may not need it all the time like I do. The second thing that I also wanted to say, Nicole, is that I'm 56 and I've maybe bled once or twice in each year for the last few years. So I'm definitely on the taper down to menopause, but I still have all of the other experiences. I still have mucosal ovulation time. I have the yellowy flat smear time. I have the wet time. I have all those vaginal secretion consistencies that you so beautifully described. And so when you're when you as a woman are learning about the changes of your vagina over your cycles, just know that this learning that you're doing by watching this video right now and learning from Nicole is something that will last for you for your whole life, not even until you go into menopause, because as women, we are cyclical in nature. We are hormonally cyclical. We're run by estrogen. We run with the moon. We have ebbs and flows of our hormones that never go away, no matter our age, especially if you use bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, which I do. You still get all of those things. You just don't bleed. So all of the things that you're doing now to listen to us today, I want to thank you for honoring yourself as a woman and for wanting to be in touch with your body and your cycles. And the more that you pay, Nicole, I wish I had known you when I was in my teens and 20s so that I could have tapped into my body's wisdom so much sooner and not have been disconnected from it. The older I get, the more connected I get, and the more that we women start having these conversations, which I love having with you, and that we share with our fans and followers, just the more that I think we're doing great work in the world as women to support and honor each other and to really embrace those basic fundamental functions of womanhood. So is there any last thing that you want to say, or should I close us off with some calls to some free things that we have?
I think you summed it up beautifully. So yeah.
All right, so then I'd like to tell you that Nicole has this really cool thing that I want you to do. It's called her Hormonal Archetype Quiz. And essentially, with the link that we posted in this video below, you can go and learn what your hormonal archetype is. I wish I'd had this information so much earlier, because as you age and you understand where you come from hormonally, you'll be able to care for yourself so much better. You'll be able to stay vital and juicy and turned on in a way that without knowing what your hormonal archetype is, you won't have. So go ahead and click that link below. And also, if you'd like to learn more about sex, passionate lovemaking, and how to be a sexually empowered woman, I have a link to my email newsletter below this video as well. So there's 2 more resources for you from Nicole and I. I'm Susan Bratton, trusted hot sex advisor to millions. Nicole Harlow is the creator of Girl Meets Body, and we are here to support you. So comment away below and we will make sure we respond. And we'll see you on the other side.
Bye, guys. Get up in there.